AEW Double or Nothing has literally just finished about 10 minutes ago, and I am live at 10 to 6 in the morning. Tony Khan, get it together. These shows are so long. I love them, but they are so long. It is. Oh, after himself, way too low there. I just want to do a little bit quiet. Oh my word. They are so long, and I'm so tired. So many emotions. It's a weird show to review just because there's so many emotions across the entire thing. Also, just want to point out, red everywhere. I'm wearing my Forest shirt instead of my Wrestling Headline shirt. I know Calvin sent me to wear the Wrestling Headline shirts, but my team, Nottingham Forest, got promoted to the Premier League yesterday. It's now nearly 6 a.m. on Monday, but still, I'm still bloody wearing it. Wasn't expecting to be up this late, but still. Anyway, I'm full of so many emotions. It's straight right. So I'm both shattered, elated for my local team still, absolutely exhausted. Been through a ring of getting tired and things like, oh, how's this show going to bring me back? And then the show ending on this note with Hangman Page, CM Punk as well, which is the match itself took me through so many different emotions. It's like, good God, there's so much for me to pick apart here. But I'm gonna do it. So first off, the AEW Championship is the main event. Hangman Page vs CM Punk. We have a new champion in CM Punk after a dramatic match. Yeah, that ending was dramatic. It's fair to say. Yeah, fair to say that ending was bloody dramatic. Oh, just like the entire thing, that is right at the start, like dueling chants, the perfect thing to hear as they locked up. Split right down the middle with their Cowboy S word first few minutes of a YouTube video. I can't say the words. See it, and the CM Punk Cowboy S word CM Punk, like. And at that point, it is so late in the night, and the crowd was so hot for the main event. Yes, this is what it's all about. This is that wrestling thing I've heard so much excitement for, and it was just so great to see. But Punk and Hangman at the start chopping the crap out of each other as they set in for that big occasion. Both men taking it in turns to attract the love and ire of the crowd, whipping them up with the palm of their hands. The reactions perfectly split the entire match, like no shift in support in the ebbs and flows of momentum between the two. Whoever they started cheering for at the beginning, they continued to cheer for towards the end. It's just the fact that both of them were able to balance a play off that. I was like, it felt like it was a masterclass I was watching, which says so much, given how damn tired everyone in that arena must have been, that they were so heavily invested into each of their guys. Like, I was fucking shattered. But they made this match feel so big time. And in the end, as the match went on, Hangman's knee became damaged, and Punk made sure to wrench on that issue. Can the buckshot even be hit with a bum knee? Well, it can't be hit by CM Punk, that's for sure. A great sequence with... For me, I really enjoyed the sequence. Punk going for the buckshot, stumbling, not getting it right. Paige then catching him and lifting him up into the GTS, which also failed. Switching around again before Punk then gets a second attempt to hit the buckshot and fails to land after the flip again, and then still hits the clothesline. And then Las Vegas booing him as he made that pin cover. Top-notch last millisecond kick out from Punk after the Deadeye. Momentum amped yet again for Paige to signal the GTS. The Cowboy, he knows how to hit his opponent's moves correctly. Doing an excellent job of both men having the momentum, as well as their moments in the sun, properly breathing. So I had no idea who was going to run in the end. The referee down, creating even more questions, and where the Hangman's desperation and the intensity of the moment was beginning to show. Grabbing the AEW title and having an inner monologue for the ages. Just the amount of emotions going over that man's face, eventually deciding to throw it down, but it may have been the wrong decision. Punk spinning him round after he goes for the buckshot and lifting into the GTS. The slow count from a just back alive referee. 1, 2, 3, a new AEW champion, and oh, the drama. For me, this was bloody fantastic. The emotion on display after the match as well, so well earned. The amount of character in this match is worthy of so much applause. A really, really solid main event that earned every single kind of beat that it got. It's just the amount of stuff in there, and it pretty much just stayed to that kind of that core reaction at the start where you got the dueling chants, and they both just played to the dueling chants, and where, as I was saying, where they earned their love from the crowd and they both earned their ire, and in the end, Hangman couldn't go to a dark place. It was that question of what he was saying back on Dynamite, where he's defending Dynamite from CM Punk, but he couldn't go to that dark place to possibly do that. And hello, Rusev Day. I was about to say, do I have to sing that name? But it's too early in the morning, late in the night. Not happening. It's not happening. Anyway, but yeah, still, the amount of stuff in this match was insane. It's crazy. And I feel like I need to go back and maybe watch it, because especially towards the start, I'm a very tired boy. Every match was, especially in the last hour, was having to do something to get me back in. They all succeeded, because they were all solid matches. That's one thing I noticed about this show, that there was a lot of really solid wrestling, but over the momentum and pacing of the show, I was just watching it thinking, yeah, this is all great, but I am exhausted. I'm tired. You've tired me out with the pacing of the show, even though what you are giving me is still technically great stuff, and I am enjoying the matches. I've just had my fill. I've had enough. I'm tired. Let me go to bed, Tony. I've got to do a review after this. I am more than ready for bed. But anyway, in terms of the main event, the other interesting thing is I love a main event like this, where you can easily go either way or multiple different directions. It doesn't really matter, because every single route is exciting, especially with the Forbidden Door right round the corner. In 1 month's time, we're watching dream matches, and now CM Punk is the champion. Does that mean we're getting Okada versus Punk? And to be fair, I would have enjoyed Hangman versus Okada, because that's you got your two different clothesline finishers against each other. Here you've got two legends of their eras. Such exciting times. But that's part of it as well. You could easily see both roads, with Hangman defending AEW from Punk. You can go down that route, but Punk winning as well is also really, really interesting. And to be fair, for the super fan that Tony Khan is, and he showed it on this show when he was coming out, it's like, oh, you're such a nerd. I love you, Tony. Such a nerd. But I feel like he had, when the opportunity arose to actually do his own Summer of Punk, I really should have never doubted that he would take the opportunity to have his own stab at it. And that's exactly what we're getting. We're getting a third Summer of Punk. And every time he's turned heel so far, is this going to buck the trend? Or is it going to be exactly what Hangman was warning about? Because that's the other thing as well, because it's AEW. And I think I can't remember which video I was talking about in the past when I've said it. But all because Hangman has lost the title, that doesn't mean his arc is finished. It might have been Hangman's arc with the Bucks, to be fair. Back when it was they're not directly referencing it, have they just dropped it? No, the story's been happening the entire time. I know it was Kenny versus Hangman, that was it. But all because they were apart doesn't mean that their arcs weren't still happening and they were going to join back together. Because I remember there was some critique of, is Hangman actually going to win? So, well, yes, of course he was going to win that title. It was arced the entire time. All because Hangman loses here, that doesn't mean the Punk Hangman arc has finished, and that's what I find so interesting about it. Because if Punk does go the route he's always gone, then that arc has just naturally happened again. And Hangman could either swing back in to become the first two-time AEW champion, or at least he gets proven right, and that's a massive character move for him too. It's like, so many routes you can take with this, so many interesting different ways you can go with it. That's why, and they've set it up to be that way. But yeah, credit to AEW. They've set up such an interesting feud with characters with such definable traits that you can see moments like this, and I go, yeah, that doesn't mean it's the end of the feud. It's just the next character beat. Yes, I wish the whole roster or got this level of care. Obviously, that's not likely. It doesn't really make this level of care takes a lot of time just to get right, and they're nailing it really with their world title. It's a shame that the first time Hangman got a really strong story in one of his title defenses is the first time he loses. That's bummed me up before with title matches in wrestling. It's just when the champion gets into an interesting story, that's because it's their final. It's like a character in a zombie show. It's like, why is T-Dog getting character? Oh, it's because he's going to get killed off in The Walking Dead. Okay, so we meant... Okay, yeah. It wasn't like that level, but it was still... it's like, oh, he's getting a good story as champion. Oh, I should have seen that he's losing. Damn it. Oh, they did such a good job with it. And the fan reaction says everything. And again, immediately on Twitter, I've seen nothing but applause, which again says a lot for such a tired audience, gravitating so strongly to it. I'm assuming he's getting quite a lot of positive feedback in the crowd right now, with the focus shifting to Forbidden Door as well, and assumably what on earth happened with MJF over the weekend. I'll go through the matches in order after I finish talking about this, but yeah, still. Oh, what a main event, an incredible main event, and all the multiple different directions you can take that championship now. It's wide open door for Punk, and kicking it off with the Forbidden One. Oh, yes, so looking forward. Also, let's talk about I was about to go into a different point, but actually, let's talk about the show as a whole, because it's so many different emotions with this. It's absolutely packed full of really strong matches and stuff that I enjoy so much. However, I also just dropped. My fatigue just went. Even though, if I go through these matches, there isn't a single one I didn't enjoy to some degree. There are some I enjoyed more than others just because they fit my personal style. This show was full of different styles of matches, so seemingly there was like something for everyone. There was a match that would appeal to somebody. And for me, there were some really strong nominees in that category, and there were other matches where I was like, hey, I go a bit Larry David, it's like, yeah, it's fine. But still, I don't think there was anything I didn't enjoy. That said, the actual pacing of the show itself, I was exhausted about 2 hours in, and part of that reason was that 2 hours in, it wasn't just what had happened; it's what I knew was still to come. Because I looked 2 hours in and I saw the sheer length of the card. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm going to be here till like stupid o'clock. This show's going to be 7-8 hours long. It wasn't, but it was still stupid length. Which is it's the same thing I was saying of Revolution. This one was longer. This one was worse. Revolution felt like it dragged on a bit, and that was about 4 hours, whilst this was over 5.5. Like, it really, that is long. Like, bloody hell. I mean, 4.5 for the main card, which is still stupidly long, but if you include, like, staying for the pre-show or whatever. And I watched they had most of the buy-in on at the side. I don't, because I don't watch pre-shows at kickoffs, but I cared about Hookhausen. So I was like, I want to see the Hookhausen match. I enjoyed it so much. Yes. Slight cancel. Not seen you in months. How are you doing? And so I am going to try and get through the matches as quickly as possible, because it is 6 a.m. I need to get to bed. I enjoyed this show. Let me just wrap that up first. Let's wrap up my point before I get too distracted. So I enjoyed Double or Nothing, but as a flow of a show, I got exhausted by Double or Nothing, and by the end, I was ready for it to end with about 4 matches left in the card, it's not a great sign of your pacing for me. But every match was still solid. Like, all of those final matches, I really enjoyed. I was just so tired, so done with the show. For me that they don't need to be this long. And there were the outside circumstances where apparently the reasoning for the additional matches being added were because of the NBA, because of the basketball that was on. I say it in as strong a British accent as possible to show I know as little as possible about the basketball. But yeah, I do know that that was the reason. They wanted to not air the main event until the basketball had finished, which comes at the cost of the show's pacing being all over the place. It was really, really off. But my God, the quality of the matches. So it's a weird one. The quality of the matches are there, but I was so tired. So done with it. Anyway, so in Double or Nothing in Las Vegas kicked off with the buy-in. Let's go through the show in order. Going all the way from the buy-in to the 11th match on the card. There were 13 matches in total if you include the buy-in match, but on the core card itself, there was 12, which is still a lot, and that tells you why it went over 5 hours. So first off, they buy in Hookhausen versus Tony Nese and Mark Sterling. Oh, 100% I enjoy this. If you know anything about my wrestling tastes, yeah. This is right up, right in my cup of tea, right in my wheelhouse. What a joyous bundle of fun this was. Hook and Danhausen are both so incredibly over for completely different reasons, like the ultimate badass and the untimely fool. Like, Hook decimates and drops folks on his head before tagging in Danhausen, who literally just plants his foot on the downed foes and poses with the curse for the three. Yeah, 5 minutes of pure fun. Exactly what it should have been. Right at the end of the pre-show, before the main show. And there we go. Could one of the matches from the main card be moved to the pre-show? Maybe. For me, they're strong enough to main event a Dynamite. And it's probably a note I'd take from lockdown era WWE, which is very specific. But for a short while, they did this thing where they would build matches that could be on the card, but then just have them main event the TV show afterwards. So, like, whilst you're doing your post-pay-per-view kind of reworking and reset, you've got a strong match built to main event to look forward to on that show. And that really worked. And they didn't continue that, because for WWE, that includes like planning and foresight, which has never been their forte. But with AEW, they do that sort of thing. So you could easily do that. Not all these matches need to be on this card, except for the outside circumstance of the basketball. But it comes at the cost of the pacing of the show. And I had the same critique for Revolution, which didn't have this problem. So it's come back again. The other talking point was Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. This weekend was very, very interesting. I posted a column earlier today on which was meant to be like me reviewing the week of wrestling. It's up on Wrestling Headlines right now if you want to go read it. And as I'm getting it all ready, I'm getting all the assets to do for the Photoshop for the thumbnail for it. As I'm doing all that, I've read the news that was happened with MJF. I'm like, oh my god, I wrote my piece on Dynamite, on AEW, on the predictions a little bit for Double or Nothing in terms of MJF Wardlow. I wrote it all on Thursday. And I had to put like an edited note in there. It was like, oh, by the way, I wrote this whole thing on Thursday. It may now be wildly out of date. Keep that in mind. So, as you read all this. But yeah, just the whole thing with MJF, where there's talk about possibly MJF had reached the end of his tether and may have just flat out walked. He no-showed a meet and greet. There's talk about a flight being booked for him to go back to wherever he comes from. I don't know what state he lives in. I don't know state's good. Long Island. God's sake, I don't know if he lives there. Well, yeah, I know all of this because of AEW. I'm doing all the whole rivalries and everything. Anyway, tangent. So there was the potential flight book back. There was talk of him then not getting on the flight. Because by the time I'm looking at all of this has happened. There's been the no-show, the potential of a flight being booked for him to go back, him then definitely not being on the flight, and then throughout the entire day there was a really weird thing where AEW were uploading then taking down the video previewing the match for Double or Nothing from their YouTube channel. Like, that was really strange, really weird, but they kept doing it throughout the day. It went up and down so many times. It's like, what are they doing? What's going on? Is it still an ongoing situation? Then they kicked off the main show with it. It's like, oh, right, okay, immediately addressing this. And it was a weird one because this apparently was the plan the entire time. From what I've heard, the plan the entire time was for Wardlow to just decimate MJF. Obviously, there's a bit of heel kind of stalling tactics from MJF, trying every heel trick in the book. But when Wardlow gets his hands on him, it's just decimation. Just from there. And that's what you do. And that was apparently the plan the entire time. It just felt weird it felt different with the outside knowledge of, is MJF actually still here after this? As in, did they actually solve the contract disputes? Because apparently part of it is MJF feels like he should be paid more for the level of performance he's giving, for the amount he's drawing in. It's like, well, yeah, that is true. But also doesn't want to sign an extension. You can't have one without the other, especially in the sports world or entertainment world. That's just not how the business side of contract works. You can get more, you can get that higher money, but you will also have to sign an extension at the same time. So because that's what the business is signing you for, they get that extension. That's their kind of reward for it. But if he is done with AEW, then yeah, if he doesn't want to sign an extension, then that might be it. Like, it could already be done. Never mind 2024. Yeah, you might ask for his release. We'll see. But this was still, obviously, we just don't have enough information. But it gave an interesting aura and atmosphere to this match. As, first off, Maxwell, doing an airplane in the middle of the ring during his entrance, immediately set the tone. It's like, right, okay, yes, we're going to be playing off of this somewhat. Okay, cool. The Las Vegas crowd, white hot, like fully behind Wardlow as he finally gets his hands on his boss, or now former boss. Chants galore across the kayfabe line, but fully invested in the action. I can swear now, I'm a certain amount of time in. You fucked up, asshole. He showed up. Fuck him up. There were so many chants. And some of them were dancing the line of, I called it the kayfabe line, but they were so within the realms of the match and being invested in the characters and what was happening. Friedman pulling every heel comeuppance spot in the book and getting caught out each and every time. Like avoiding Wardlow at all costs before getting caught red-handed in a really well-filmed shot. Going to sneak on the diamond ring, but the referee and Wardlow were just watching over his shoulder the entire time. And I absolutely loved it. One power bomb and another, and another, and another. The crowd going crazy as Wardlow lifts his foot off the pin right into a heated 2 final power bombs, and finally he goes for the win. MJF receiving absolutely zero sympathy from the fans as they chanted, "You deserve it." as he got stretchered out. It was like, no sympathy at all. A squash of power as Wardlow dominates Huge. And on the ramp afterwards, Schiavone gives the news of Wardlow getting his contract finally. And Wardlow does a really good job of kind of just acting and selling, just like, oh my god, I've finally done it. I've got myself an official contract. There's a graphic and everything and all. And I was just watching that thinking, in no world should I really be having emotion towards this, because it's so clear you do. But they got me in the moment. Like, they played it really well, so kudos to them. And as well, yeah, Wardlow feels like a massive deal now. They did it. Because that was my thing coming out of what I was saying in the column, was that I genuinely felt like they were on the verge of making this megastar, which made the whole MJF thing even more questionable, because apparently he and Wardlow are massive friends, and he was doing this as a massive thing for Wardlow. So even if the potential of him not showing up, I always felt like, well, it's really weird that there's a chance he might not show up when he seemingly cared so much about setting his friend on this awesome path. That doesn't mean he's going to continue to be on AEW after this night, but I always found it strange that there was a chance he might not be on this show. It's like, really? That sucks. That sucks if that's the case. Yeah. But again, almost a pure story match, really, compared to what came throughout the rest of the night. This was your core story, closer to sports entertainment thing of the night. And yeah, round of applause to it. Round of applause. Yeah, well, really good stuff. And Wardlow is now set for something awesome. What it will be, we don't know. Is it going to be finally capturing that TNT title? Who knows? Is he going to go for something bigger? I really don't know. He could go for the bigger one, fail, but get that huge spotlight and then go for something else. I mean, to be fair, the asterisk right now is Forbidden Door. I've got no idea what this next month entails. Like, I'd convinced myself there might be a New Japan name showing up on this show. There were names that showed up, but none of them were New Japan. And there weren't any after the Punk win, which, to be fair, I think was the right call, because then you're taking away the focus from Punk's huge momentous win. And you make the final note all about the New Japan debut. Like, if Okada's music hits, for me, the only circumstance in which you would play the Rainmaker's theme is if Hangman was retaining. You don't do that with Punk's win, because it takes the attention away. You can do it. You got so many shows to build up to Forbidden Door. This next month is going to be really exciting. Or really duller than just flash up a graphic. There's always that route. Yeah. Anyway, Next up was the Delete versus Elite. I almost forget that these matches happened because it's been such a journey and they were so long ago. Young Bucks versus the Hardys. And this was such an enjoyable match. And I'm going to be saying this a lot. It's such an enjoyable match. Are we really surprised? But do I really remember it happened after the show? First off, Viva Las Elvis. Amazing outfits from the Young Bucks. On top of their amazing cosplay as the Hardys over on Rampage. My God, Vanden had me howling dressed up as Lita. That's so funny. Even when the Bucks are in pure egotistical mocking mode, as they don't take the older Hardys seriously. Even when in the flow of offense with both Nick and Matt, they were looking to rub it in and steal their signature moves. Building into that reminder when it comes to pay-per-view, the Young Bucks do not miss. Kicking up the place and flow as they grow to take their opponents seriously. So many sequences flying in a quick flow of action. Matt being a dick hitting a twist of fate on Jeff, only for us to realise Nick's on top to follow up with a Swanton Bomb, and this is awesome near fall. Really, really good stuff. The fight in the Extreme Brothers refusing to die as they're hit by super kick after super kick, leading to our crazy Jeff Hardy spot of the night. Swanton Bomb to the outside onto Matt on an upright steps. The same spot from the Darby Allin match in the Owen Cup. But this time he actually hits the move instead of just crashing and burning on the steel steps. Good God, man. Nick Jackson selling the twist of fate amazingly twice. My God, the way he took the bump the first time, just like just darting head first, and then he was like, "Oh, you got to do it again," and it does the same bump. The crazy man. P.S. The Hardys won in the end in a really strong match, kind of catapulting them to the top of the tag team contendership. And maybe got a little bit of Christian animosity there. That's why Jurassic Express retained late in the night. But yes. Also, Brandon Cutler. Oh, man. Absolutely golden in this match. Hilarious selling. When he was having his head bashed into the corner turnbuckles. And then he was like walked over to the other side. And then those turnbuckles also had his head bashed in whilst he's walking across the apron. And his arms just went all limp and stuff, and he's just dangling there, and he takes a bump on the apron, just arms completely limp by his side, just falling over. Oh, it was hilarious. So good. A Brandon Cutler pay-per-view style bump. I loved it. So good. Yeah, really, really solid match. Built, because Hardys do not miss on pay-per-view, and it's built like a Hardys match in terms of momentum, pace, and flow. And by the end, it's really white hot, and the crowd are going crazy. Yeah, it was a Young Bucks pay-per-view thing in a dream match against the Hardys. What else can I say? Really, really strong stuff. But on a night where there was a lot of really strong stuff, and weirdly, it falls quite low on my list of matches I enjoyed because there's so many ahead of it, which is so weird to say. Like that second match, yes, I really, really enjoyed it, but I'm not going to remember it really just because there was so much later, which I enjoyed so much more. So it's maybe like 5th, 6th on my list. Which doesn't mean forgettable. It just means that there was maybe too much on this show. But like screaming to me, this could have main evented a Dynamite as a huge match. In that way, did it have to be on Double or Nothing? The end, obviously, it's Young Bucks. Got to have them on. It's the Hardys. Oh, I gotta have them on the pay-per-view. Do you though? Yeah, TBS Championship. Jade Cargill versus Anna Jay. Poor lasses having to follow that match. That said, Jade getting the Cody Vader, awesome. AEW having an absolute star rising in the form of Jade Cargill. The baddie stable building nicely too as the champion stock just continues to rise. It was a tad clunky, like not working with a lot of story either, which didn't help. So it's kind of just a match. Anna Jay shown to have the strongest fight against Jade yet, which is an important note in her championship reign. Fending off both baddies, dodging the heel's attempts to capitalise on the distraction. Sterling out too, but John Silver with the save. Also awesome selling by Mark Sterling as John Silver just took him the hell out. A great spot as Jay slid out of a Jaded and kicked out the legs into the sleeper. Really smooth. At the end coming with Jay going for some sort of top rope glory, but out comes Stokely Hathaway, the former Bivens, as I peak my audio, causes the final distraction to manage the baddies. Yes, Bivens and the baddies, I love it. Shortly followed by a post-match beatdown, shut down by Chris Statler making the save, and a debuting Athena to make it 3-on-3. The former Ember Moon showing up in AEW, a signing that I was like, she'll fit so well in AEW. Hopefully it's an AEW which puts more focus on the women's division, but they're getting there. And Athena / Ember Moon, the latest addition to that list. Yeah, and that sets up our baddies 3-way as well. So, yes. Yeah, a solid little build to the next thing. It's nice and exciting. Got a nice little new signing. We've got Stokely. I'm way too excited for Stokely. So happy he was so wasted in WWE. They had no idea what to do with him. And immediately AEW gives him a killer act. Just, yes, yeah. I can't wait for his promo fight on Wednesday. So looking forward to it. Right, speaking of matches I was looking forward to, actually, let's take a sip of water before I get onto this one. Ooh. Also, I'm so impressed I've blasted this quickly, in half an hour. There's still so much to go. I'm like a quarter of the way through this bloody card. House of Black versus Death Triangle. Here we go. All 6 of these lads are simply amazing. This had so many excellent spots, especially in the early goings. They were teasing all of the pairings, and just every pairing was like, give me a singles match between these two. Oh my god, like Rey Fenix, Malachi Black, yes please. Only escalating from there. An incredible 6-man. I absolutely loved this. A lightning pace that just kept firing, like shot after shot with no misses. The crowd cheering up on their feet as if this was an opener, and they were really hyped for the pay-per-view. This is like 4 or 5 matches in for them. But, like, oh my word. Reaching a point of the crowd just popping for everything and wordily chanting fight forever. They're like, yeah, they might have missed the odd spot or flip, or Brody King might have gone back first onto an apron from his own dive. But, like, who cares? They're throwing so much stuff at us. Like, spot after spot after spot in such impressively quick succession. In the end, the lights went out, and Julia Hart finally joined the house. Black missed to a top rope pack and met with the Black Mass, or whatever he's calling here, back heel kick. Yeah, this is goddamn exceptional. I'm not going to call it beat for beat. I'm not going to go this spot was great. This spot was great. No, watch the match. It's just a flurry. It's so exciting to watch. Goddamn exceptional. Watch this match. There were a couple. There's this, and there was the triple threat tag team title match. Both of those are like a flurry of really exciting spots, and both if that's your kind of wrestling, like it is for me, I really recommend it. Really strong stuff. I can't really praise it enough. I adored that match. It was so much my cup of tea. Oh yes, right in the wheelhouse of the Rich Latter pro wrestling. Like, oh yes, a complete PWG flurry. And I loved every second. I haven't got really more to say, really. It's good that finally, like, these arcs are finally bloody ending. Yes, the Death Triangle and House of Black rivalry, you watch that match and go, I could watch that again. But promo and build-wise, I'm definitely done with it. I don't really want much more in that department. But when I watch them wrestle, they're incredible together. Like, the timing is insane. The kind of stuff that they are doing and putting off. I can't applaud it enough, and I'd be so excited to watch it again. The problem is you'd have to get the build with that as well. Like, yes, there's an asterisk and there's a caveat. There's a little bit of a problem there. Either way, really strong stuff. Where it goes next. And it's good to see the Julia Hart angle finally wrap up with her joining the House of Black. So yeah, it's just, that dragged on a bit. That was definitely a story that it was less long-term storytelling and more a story that took a long time to tell, which isn't the same thing. I mean, that's what, I guess I use the example of Naomi and Sonya Deville. That wasn't a long-term story. That was the same beat every single week. So it took a long time to tell it. Whilst Julia Hart was, I guess, that idea, but then for weeks also not doing it, and then in the one week they would do it again. It's like, oh, they're going to want that back because they're going to hint on it now. No, maybe in a few months. It's just, it got stretched, but yeah, a fantastic match. Wait, it finally ends on. Absolutely loved it. Right, now for some feel good, I guess. Some solid wrestling followed by a feel good moment. For me, this is where I guess a bit of, I'll call it a lull happened. Just because this is the point where I realised how long was left on the card, and and realising these matches were all going to get time. Yeah, my fatigue set in a little bit, even though the wrestling was still solid. The Owen Cup Finals. First, the men, Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe. Like, wow, would you look at it right here? I have to do a bit of an Owen Wilson. Wow. Would you look at this right here? That's a sudden... Oh, they dropped the Owen Wilson accent immediately after the one word. Adam Cole and Samoa Joe wrestling each other on an AEW pay-per-view. Wow. Awesome to hear the Owen chants as the two lads locked up for their solid little wrestle. So great to have this version of Joe back on our screens. Like the badass that'll scream in your face if you dare to kick him. They'll suplex you to hell. Adam Cole getting the better of Joe after his pal Bobby Fish rocketed on down for a sneaky attack. Joe fighting back regardless, but eventually the damage showed itself. That small moment, enough of an edge in this tight contest. The boom for the win, and Adam Cole earns himself the Owen Hart Trophy. Celebrating as he bleeds from the mouth, because of course he's bleeding from the mouth. He's just had a match with Samoa Joe. Of course he bloody is. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about this match, really. Because it was a solid wrestling match between the two. I just don't have a lot to say about it. It felt solidly mid-card good. It's kind of how I felt about a lot of the Owen Hart Cup. Where, it's been... The phrase I used in my column was, I had to turn into a Nottinghamshire Larry David. Like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah. I've not been swept away by it. I didn't particularly care. I wasn't that invested in these cup finals coming in. But yeah, it's fine. But AEW presentation wise did a really good job trying to make you excited for the women's final, where Britt Baker DMD faced Ruby Soho, and Britt Baker gets a lame Fozzy guitar lad whilst playing her out, whilst Ruby gets the complete one-up on her as Rancid plays her out with a full song. Like, get that Fozzy lad out of here. Rancid killed it. And a really special entrance for Ruby. But it was special entrances for them both. And that really made the match feel special, especially in those early going. There were joining chants for this when on Rampage, it's like, the Rampage segment didn't seem to be met with by extremely hot positivity. The overall match itself here was fine. It started off hot when it was met by that crowd reaction, but kind of dwelled into a fine kind of run. Britt with an overconfident wear down as Soho just keeps fighting back and making her pay for talking gab instead of focusing in on the win. Baker going for her lockjaw glove after nailing the stomp, but the hole playing to the crowd let Ruby back in again. A huge pop for Ruby going for the sharpshooter. Locked in subparly thanks to earlier damage to the ribs. Dax would be so proud. Just that care to attention to detail. Entering a quick flash as we look to enter a string of late game offense, but one of Britt's roll-up reversals scored her the sudden win. Okay. Right, yeah. Ruby loses to Baker once again. I like the a longer little story playing out there. The power couple out for the power couple then both out for Tony's presentation afterwards. Yeah, it's like they did a really good job at making you think they were going to build to, okay, so this is where Ruby then fights back and potentially gets her win after a long string. But no, she got caught during the string. And she's, as a character, she's got no one else to blame but herself. You can go somewhere with this, because the entire story was her trying to get one up on Britt Baker because of what happened last time, and she made a mistake again. And she's got no one else to blame but herself, because there were no interruptions or interferences this time. So, yeah, that's the old character pick for her to get over. Yeah, good stuff. But anyway, yes, the power couple in Adam Cole and Britt Baker out to collect their trophies as Tony Schiavone does the presentation to bring out Dr. Martha Hart in her fancy hat as the fans chant Owen's name and they thank her. This was like a lovely semi-step out of kayfabe for a minute, like just somebody from the real world just giving a speech, like a full introduction. Like, oh, how now? Like, the whole thing's a bit rambly, a bit long, but I don't care because everyone's so happy. I'm so happy for them, and it's all so lovely. And then Martha's like, next year, I want you all to wear fancy hats. And then when the music's playing, she just dances down the tunnel. It's just like, oh, Martha. Oh, yeah. It just felt like a lovely little moment. And everyone was just so happy to kind of just be together for this moment. And so happy that Martha was enjoying it too. Yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely. Like a nice warm cup of tea. Felt very British happy. Just to say it. Oh, yeah. And Martha, like, the art that everybody loves. Just a little bit tipsy. Anyway, after that, it was a lovely little moment. Nice little presentation. Going to be weird when Adam Cole and Britt Baker heel it up afterwards. But, you know, in the moment, it was just a step out of kayfabe into just, like, the real world. Just somebody from the real world just chatting like a real world person for a minute. It's like, oh yeah, this is not how wrestling works. People are over the top characters. Like, yeah, this is a human person who's giving a speech like humans do. Like, oh, okay, this is how normie feels. Right, let's go straight into the abnormal world then. Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, and Paige Vanzant. This is your celebrity match of the night of talking about there being something for everybody. Versus Frankie Kazarian, Sammy Guevara, and Tay Conti. Resounding boos for Sammy and Tay as their maleficent Cody Vader entrance took place. The two of them acting like complete dicks the entire match. But they're up against pure heels without a double turn having taken place. Even though it kind of did take place, but they reverted it a week later. An interesting dynamic. Or question mark booking. Is it even both? It's like, whenever they go this situation, they seemingly, in the match itself, they successfully read the room and book them as the bad guys. But then they go back to the build and they treat Sammy and Tay somewhat as good guys. And I feel like I'm seeing hints of them fully turning towards the bad side. But then I'm like, but am I though? I did the same thing with Cody. Am I actually reading this or not? Or is it just that the character's written in such a way that it feels like that's what's happening even though it's not on purpose? Who knows? But yeah, for me, there is still an interesting... When it comes to the matches themselves, there's still an interesting dynamic to play out, even though the characters feel a bit non-optimal. There's still potential for interesting possibilities. I liked the idea of Kaz, the pure babyface, bouncing and playing off the couple pissing about. Like, they're taking the piss. That's what Sammy and Tay are doing. and Kaz isn't having any of it. Paige Vanzant, this celebrity attraction, and yes, she delivered. At first, like, yeah, these clotheslines are fine. The bump she's taking are alright. But a minute later, she's dropping Tay with a Michinoku driver. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, she's throwing. She's doing stuff. Yeah, for me, yeah, in the end overall, yeah, bought it. She can afford herself. Well done. The 6-person stare down, though, for me, was the spot in the match. Was like, that was the great moment. That's the bit I will remember. As Kazarian, it's Paige Vanzant, Paige and Sky standing in the ring. Then Sammy's there facing them. Taylor slides in, so you got your 3 and your 2, and you're like, okay, I know what happens next. But then Kaz just gets up on the apron and gives the finger to let Sammy and Tay get him beaten up. Chaos reigning before Frankie then jumps in with the hot fire. I was like, oh, yes, I loved the kind of flow of that. He did nothing to help then, but once he could then reign in, it's like, yeah, it's fine. Guevara going to super kick Kaz backfires as he super kicks the hell out of the wrong teammate. Men of the Year running in and in on that opening, and the TNT champion TKO'd his former tag partner Kaz for the win. But yeah, gives Scorpio Sky a win. He kind of got this over and done with. It had the stipulation that if Sky, Paige, and Vanzant were to win, then Tay and Sammy don't get another chance at the TNT championship. You can stick by that. That's good. That rips them away from this. You can then just go to the next bit. Yeah, well done. Well done, it's over. But the matches themselves have been great. It's just everything else around it is so strange. And it's kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. But when it comes to the matches themselves, they've all been great. So there's not too much to moan about there. Yeah. Right, solid match out of nowhere. Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly. And this was surely this one was just added for the basketball. Because as soon as these guys were coming out, I was like, I have got no idea why this is on the card. Like, maybe it gets Darby Allin, one of the 4 pillars, on the pay-per-view. Maybe there's that. But, yeah, this screamed that, like, just in case the basketball goes to overtime, here is this match to definitely prolong us. It's like, but it means the pacing of the show's broken. I don't know how I feel. But almost all worth it for some of these incredible spots. First off, Kyle O'Reilly catching Darby's dive into a choke. Oh, never mind, the first dive Darby did, it almost necked himself, landing way too early. Kind of like doing a cannonball almost, flat onto the mat, and then kind of just kicking O'Reilly. It was like, oh, that didn't look nice. But yeah, then go for a second dive, and then O'Reilly catches him in a choke. Like, oh, that was an amazing spot. And then O'Reilly's kind of stuck, draping over the apron. As he's kind of tangled the ropes a bit, and Darby hits a coffin drop. It's like, oh, good God. Yeah, like, credit to the lads, like, having a solid outing. Like, they were doing everything to get me to care. Like, this was such a good match. Like, I was really reluctant to get into it at first, but they won me over. They won over this tied Brit at the time it was like 3:45 in the morning. Like, they did a really strong job there. And a strong win for O'Reilly as well. Kicking the shit out of Darby, just kept on screaming, and eventually he kicked him again and again. Penalty kicks as well, just charging off the ropes before dropping a knee from the top. I'm like, really, really good stuff. Yeah, it's just a match without really anything beforehand. But by the end, it's like, oh wait, no, that was one of the better matches of the night, which really leans into what I'm saying, in that all of these matches are solid. I enjoyed all of them to some degree. There's just too much of it. I fatigue. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm ready for bed. And then we get to really solid matches when I'm at my most tired. It's a weird combination. These matches that I'm about to talk about here are all worthy of a rewatch. Like, they will hold up past tonight. But on the night itself, I was so done with this show. I was so fatigued. But it's where some of my favourite matches of the night happened. It's such a strange balance to review it on. Anyway, Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb for the AEW Women's World Championship. Some tasty, delicious back and forth wrestling here. These two were smooth as fuck. It's so smooth. So great they earned themselves a "This is Wrestling" chant, which you don't really hear that often anymore. Like, here, especially in AEW, it's like properly deserved. Deeb is so good. Like, everything she does is simultaneously smooth as butter and bloody vicious. Rosa adapted to the rhythm impressively well too. Like, this match was allowed the time to breathe and swing into convincing flows of control and potential winning momentum for both women. This was fantastic stuff, which says a lot given how incredibly tired both I and the crowd were at this point. Like, staring down the barrel of 3 more matches. Like, we got really, really into it. Ending on a suitably fluid top rope suplex into a Fire Thunder driver for the champion to retain. Really, really strong women's championship match. I feel like there might have been a period in the middle where I was kind of zoning away a bit, but it was wrestled so well. It was executed so strongly. That, if I was doing a Meltzer Stars on it, it was going to get a high rating. Really, really good stuff. But in terms of the flow of the overall show, I'm gone by this point. I'm ready for it to end. The only thing that will win me back in is something like the next 2 matches. I feel like at that point of the show, that's not the time you put on your excellence of execution, which is, for me, perfect phrase for that women's title match. Even though it's really, really good, I'm mentally kind of checked out before the match. So you're trying to win me back in, and that's not the kind of match that's going to wake a tired boy back up. Do you know what it is? Absolute mayhem. Anarchy in the arena. Eddie Kingston, Santana and Ortiz, Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. This was phenomenal. This was so good. And the tone immediately set by Justin Roberts, where he was saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the shit's about to hit the fan." And that's exactly a perfect way to set it up. It's like, for me, this match overall was like the perfect way to make a Stadium Stampede crazy brawl thing with loads of different spots just work in a live crowd setting, and just creating that atmosphere of anarchy, where everywhere you look there is something happening all over the arena. And they absolutely nailed that. And a massive shout out to, I guess, the live editing and production of this, where they managed to, if they missed a spot, it was immediately replayed. But there was so much going on that they really didn't miss much at all. And the fact that they were able to keep the flow and keep on top of the story they were telling at the same time, where there's so much happening in so many different locations of the arena, deserves so much applause from me. Like, the production was insane on this. Like, the amount of times it can start to feel a bit janky in that chaotic kind of way. Whilst this was purposeful chaos. Like, it was all part of the orchestrated effort. Like, really well done. First off, amazing outfits from the JAS. All in bright white, Backstreet Boys bright white. Like, my God, that was an outfit. Wild thing was, for me, the first part of this match, it's said everything. Continuing to play the song as all 10 lads brawled everywhere was such a great start to the madness, and a huge pop as the production just played the song again and they continued to brawl. They gave like a second wave to the crowd to get back into the brawl that was happening. It certainly felt like anarchy. Bloody madness in a brawl of fun. Jericho with great heat beating up Moxley at the sound area, which then cut off the music as they, oh yes, and he's the perfect guy for that to happen with, where he realised everything was so purposeful. Where Jericho's he's been the one saying cut the music during his entrances, taking the singing and joy away from the fans. So the fact that he's the one that stops their enjoyment of somebody else's song, it's like, there's so many layers to this. I love it. In terms of like the spots in the match itself, there was way too much chaos to list, and like I was saying with one of the matches earlier, like, it doesn't do it justice if I just list what happens, but my God, like, just the feel of the match for me was kind of the key thing here. The camera's constantly cutting in a mad dash to keep up. Like, whenever they showed one thing, there was a crowd reaction somewhere else, and they had to then rely on the replays to show us what was going on. It felt like there was simultaneously so much going on. Everyone juiced, whilst Moxley then took the top rope apart in the ring so he could wield the hooks and choke people. It's like, yeah, of course he does. He's John Moxley. Of course he does that. Why did I think he wouldn't? As soon as Santana and Ortiz double splash off a huge ladder, we immediately cut to Jericho shooting off a fire extinguisher in Mox's face. As in, we see them jump, crash, and the next cut is to that, and then they show the replay of the ladder spot. It's like, oh God, like, in terms of production, they're just keeping up with the pace of the anarchy. Like, it's crazy. Like, you're watching that questioning, wait, didn't I just watch Eddie Kingston beat up Daniel Garcia in an elevator? Where are they? Well, you're going to get your answer, as Eddie Kingston then turned up on the stage, bloodied, and described really well on social media as like the zombie just kind of just walking down the ramp, covered in blood, holding a can of well, in my world, petrol, but gasoline. Like, oh my God, with a smile on his face. It's like, oh my God, that Eddie visual. That is insane. Death himself equipped with gasoline. The step too far that was, though, for Bryan Danielson. That created a rift in our faces that were placed together for this match. The final run of near falls, the much needed addition to the violence, as things boiled down to their final chapters. A fantastic closing in-ring stretch as Jericho and Hager took advantage of the Eddie Bryan fallout and swung into a top-notch final stint with Danielson, with Moxley knocked over to his cardboard setup. His barbed wire table setup. It's completely stuck over there. And Hager and Jericho then wearing down Danielson, eventually using those previously taken down top rope to choke and set the balls of Jericho onto Danielson, and that together, eventually the guy just passed out. And that was the end of the match. Again, if I were to name each individual spot that happened, it doesn't do it justice. It's just the absolute anarchy. They nailed it. They did it. That's the feeling they were going for, and they got it. And the fact that the production were able to keep up with the idea, and the execution difficulty of this was incredibly high. So they get so many points for that. If this is gymnastics, the difficulty level isn't A or whatever. I don't know what they give it. They don't give it numbers, do they? They give it numbers, don't they? They don't give it letters. Whatever it is, it's really high difficulty. Just don't get into technical stuff. It's like 6:45 in the morning, not been to sleep. Still, Really, really good match. Anarchy, chaos, brawl thing. It was really exciting. But yeah, it was, again, it's like the idea of realising Stadium Stampede worked in lockdown, doesn't work in, like, doing like a big pre-recorded thing with loads of like planned out and professionally shot bits. Worked really well during lockdown. Didn't particularly work last year where they started pre-recorded and then ended in the ring. It didn't really work there. But this is how you transcribe that to a live crowd. This is how you do it. Nailed it. Absolutely flipping nailed it. It was so much fun. So much chaos. Really, really fun time. Speaking of fun, now on to the final match to talk about. I've done it. I've somehow recapped an ungodly amount of matches in under an hour. The AEW Tag Team Championship. Jurassic Express versus Hobbs and Starks versus Swerve and Keith Lee. Out of the frying pan in the last match and quickly into the fire. Every combination of lads in this match was exciting. All the different ways the match flowed between them, so great to see. Lee and Swerve are incredible together, naturally oozing so much cool in their demeanour. Strickland's backflip off of Keith's chest is so impressive. It's insane. But then to that dynamic, you add in Stark's charisma. You add in, it's Hoss time. What a great combination of lads. This was yet another run of tag brilliance. The ending flurry had me right in its hooks. And I was watching it like, who cares if it's 5 a.m? This was so exciting to watch. Such an exciting watch. And it pretty much like almost every note I had for the 6-man earlier, I will put onto here as well. The constant flow of the different pairings just works so well. And of course, it just like builds and builds and builds and builds, where you start getting those near falls as they start hitting those bigger and bigger moves. But there's always an extra person there just to stop it. And that flow continues and continues. Really, really good stuff. If that's your kind of wrestling, there were 2 examples of it on this show, and both were excellent. Really good stuff. And then the main event. Jurassic Express retaining in the end. Almost forgot to mention that bit. I have to talk about the feel of the match. But yeah, Jurassic Express won in the end. And they retained the titles to maybe face the Hardys, given what happened on this show. We'll see. I mean, there's the potential of the House of Black, but it feels they're going to be doing more stable stuff before going for titles. We'll see what happens next. But then after that was Hangman Page versus CM Punk for the title to end the show on and crown a new champion. Oh, right. It was a Double or Nothing full of different emotions. There's so much going on in it, and for like most of the second half, it was just fatigue and tiredness. I was just ready for bed. Then the main event happens. No, it was the Anarchy match. For me, that was where I properly got back into the show. Even though I recognised the excellence that was the women's title match, I wasn't like awake and fully engaged. That happened with the Anarchy match. I was right back in, and the show never lost me again. But I was exhausted, because I was exhausted before the women's title match. So, Tony, like, I know you only do 4 of these a year, and that's kind of your excuse to kind of have them be longer. That's how you can get so many on the card. The pacing of this was difficult. It was very difficult to get through. Like, it feels like I don't know if many will, like, ever watch the show fully in the future. But they will certainly watch it while skipping through certain things, just because it's so. I was trying to think, what would I probably, when we watch this show, what would I skip through? If I'm being like harsh on it, because I've already said everything was solid, it was just long. But okay, well, we'll watch this again. What am I skipping through? It's probably the men's Owen Hart match. Maybe MJF Wardlow, just because that is pure story, but it was executed well enough, and there's no downtime in that one either. There's a lot where I'm just like, I don't actually know what I would skip. I really don't know. Really, really solid kind of run of matches. It was just really long show. Anyway, that is the end of the review. I managed to finish that in under an hour. I mean, I had to go to bed at a stupid time. As in, it's so late, I think I'm going to have breakfast before I go to bed. It's the morning now. The birds are chirping. I've had to shut my window. It's hot. I've got my lights on and everything. Oh god. Anyway, that brings me to the end of the review. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. What did you make of AEW Double or Nothing? Are my gripes your gripes as well? You got similar sentiments? Am I just being a grumpy Brit who's just tired? It's like, oh, if you've watched this at a reasonable hour, it was perfectly fine. Just let me know. You can hit me up on Twitter at the damn implicat. The damn is in damn. Also, I've got my Twitch there as well with the 2 S's. The website we're doing this on itself as well, Wrestling Headlines. If you go to Twitter, that's at Russell Headlines. That's Wrestle without an E. Also, Wrestling Headlines, the Facebook page. I'll go by the stats on that. I don't really need to plug it, but I'll keep doing it. It's doing very well for itself. Yes, and I plugged it earlier. But if you want to go check out my column, which is me doing in the week of, where I've watched Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, and Rampage in that order. And I've written segments on them for the column. I'll pick one topic from each of those shows and go into it on that. And that's 4 topics for the column. There we go. And just rambling about stuff on the intro, which has turned up over the weekend because the wrestling news never ends. Ah, yes. Double or Nothing. Knackering, but also full of excellent stuff. But also knackering. I'm ready for bed. So that's... Say thank you for listening. I bid you adieu. Adios.